to the Influence Factory podcast. This program is dedicated to support professionals who have a desire to develop their digital business influence so they can navigate through a fast-paced, constantly growing digital world. We invite newcomers as well as our family of business influencers to a place to play, share ideas, questions, tips, and guidance with other thought leaders around the globe. Sit back and enjoy our program with our host Dean DeLisle as he interviews guests. News and commentary is provided by Kate Hassett and Jackson DeLisle. Power Move lessons are provided by the Influencer Marketing Department at Social Jack. And production, editing, and distribution is provided by the Social Jack production team.
So I want to introduce our guests today. So this week's influencer guests are co-founders of Tony P's networking events. The goal of these events are to bring together Chicago's upwardly mobile, people on the move, professional community, and elegant and energetic networking experience. Greg and Tony have been friends of mine for a while, and they've been working together to help accomplish this goal they've set out to achieve in an amazing way. If you live in Chicagoland, you've probably heard of these events, and you're sorry if you don't get to those events. So please welcome Tony Paolella and Greg DeKalb. There's Tony. There's Greg.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
What's happening, man?
What's happening?
It's funny. Usually when we see each other, there's like 800 people behind us because it's usually at an event. So this is interesting to have you two, right, sort of one-on-one on the screen here. So what's interesting is I realized after I had met you several years back and as we were going to events that you guys have very different businesses that you operate outside of Tony P's networking events. So first of all, I want to hear how you two met. Give us that nugget. How'd you guys meet?
Yeah, Greg, I can jump in with this one. You can add more color later. So we actually met through a mutual friend, a friend of mine that I worked with. God, it was probably like 13 plus years ago, 14 years ago. And, it is when you work with people, you make friends with your coworkers. And then what's nice is sometimes you make friends with your coworkers' friends. So I actually met Greg through this coworker friend of ours, or actually used to work with Greg before. And we were at a Cubs game and we're just kind of just swapping stories. We're both sales guys. And ironically, LinkedIn was a very prevalent topic we discussed. I raved about how much I use it and how much I love it for sales. And yeah, Greg and I became friends within about 2 minutes, and we've both been in the sales world. We're always swapping war stories and, we just always kept in touch with each other. And over the last, 10 plus years, the friendship became deeper. And then in the last 2 to 3 years, getting more close on the business end, things got even more involved. And I can let Greg put more color on that piece. But yeah, we just met through friends, and that friendship has turned into a business relationship. And we've also met a lot of great people through each other over the last 13, 14 plus years.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll just add, one of my earliest memories of running around with Tony was actually at a networking event of all places.
Someone else's at the time, right?
Yeah, someone else's. Yeah, exactly. And it had to be one of my first real Chicago networking events. And I was like, whoa, this is really, really cool. All these people come together, they're being social, and for me, kind of a light went off as soon as I went to that first event because, I like to go out, be social, have a couple of cocktails, what have you. But at the same time, I want to be productive and I want to know that I can go out and meet people and have business conversations. So I'm a huge fan of networking events because it allows me to be social, have those drinks and, at the same time, I'm having productive conversations as opposed to just going and hanging out at a bar. So
that's cool. And then, so how long did you guys know each other? And then all of a sudden, Tony P's networking events were born because it was it was interesting. I had run into you guys, I think ahead of a Tony P's networking event. And then Tony, I think it was you, was like, hey, are you coming to our networking event coming up? And I was going, I didn't know you had. I said, what are they called? And you go, Tony P. And it was like you pointed at your badge, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I asked you, I go, well, what's your last name? He goes, don't worry, it's too hard to say. Just say Tony P. And so you were branding like in the moment. And I don't know if you did that ahead of Tony P's events. Did you brand Tony P ahead of that?
It's kind of funny because, having a crazy Italian last name that no one knows how to spell or pronounce. I did
okay, didn't I?
What?
I did okay when I announced you, right?
Paolella, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I'm in Italy, it's Paolella. It's a little different over the other side of the.
It's like DeKalb in Atlanta, so.
Yeah. And so what it is just I don't know. There's had a lot of crazy nicknames throughout my life, and obviously when there's ever other people named Tony in the room or in a circle, got to differentiate. So Tony P became one of many nicknames.
That's cool.
And just kind of stuck, and also just a way to, my last name gets butchered all the time. It's just easier to say, just call me Tony or Tony P. It's easier, and then that way that's off the table, But how this all came about was kind of a happy accident. I mean, me and Greg just been going out to a lot of events, meeting people, and one thing that we realized when we started the Appointments IQ business first was that the more events we go to, the more clients and partners we'd pick up. And then what I realized too is that if I invited a lot of people to different events, then we'd have like a base of people to talk to, and then we'd meet more people that way.
Right.
And then I took it another step further. I'm like, okay, well, if I get to know all these people put on the events and I help promote them and help them sell tickets, then they give me free tickets and free drinks or whatever. And so it just kind of just grew over time. And then what I did was a friend of mine actually said, hey, instead of doing all those like random emails, you should have like a newsletter or something. So I set up a Facebook group. I just literally called it Tony P's Network Events Calendar. And then I set up a newsletter called Tony P's Network Events Newsletter, just very simple. and started with just a handful of people, but now the Facebook group's got like over 2,500, 3,000 people in there. Our newsletter has about 4,500 people. It goes out each week. And, some will get annoyed because it is pretty aggressive guerrilla marketing, but a lot of people appreciate it. They like knowing what's going on and who to meet with and stuff. But ironically, by promoting a lot of other people's events, people would think they were our events because we'd go to them and they'd say, wow, this event's great. Thank you for inviting me. And you do such a good job, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's not my event. And then people kept saying, well, you should start doing them. And honestly, I resisted for months. I didn't want to do it. I thought it was a pain, too much work, too much of a headache. Greg's like, no, let's do it. I'm like, I don't know. Not sure. See, the thing is, I analyze the hell out of things, and Greg's more of like a Nike just do it sort of guy. So that's part of what makes us work, because we kind of check and balance each other. But yeah, Greg kept like pushing me and said, come on, let's do an event. Let's do an event. And then finally I said, fine, let's do one. And we did the first one August 2017. 275 people showed up. We're like, oh, wow, this actually worked. And we've been doing them every month ever since. And we get between 250 to 350 people each time. And I know I kind of hogged that story, Greg, but if you want to jump in and add any details to it.
Yeah, I'll just add that it was funny because when we were going to these events and we were building the Appointments IQ business and networking, just like sitting there and watching people come up to Tony and say, "Oh, hey, great event," and Tony was like, "Well, I'm just promoting this for a friend of mine and what have you, And I just remember nudging him, dude, when are we gonna do this, man? We can make this happen, So it was, it was just a lot of fun in that respect. But yeah, it's been great bringing all the people together and, putting our own spin on the networking events and kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And one of the things that I think really helped out when we started the events is we were like, okay, well, what should we name this thing? And there's a lot of noise out there, and there's a lot of great networking events and a lot of different groups out there. And I'm like, look, we got to differentiate ourselves. And for us, the whole foundation of networking is bringing people together,
right,
and humanizing, these interactions. So we kind of look at LinkedIn. We're like, okay, well, Tony P's networking events is kind of like LinkedIn in person, and that was our whole goal and our whole mantra to doing all this. And instead of doing like networking XYZ should be our name, I'm just like, wait, that's missing the whole point. We're building this event to humanize and to bring people together. I said, let's name it after you. You're Tony P. So from the foundation and from the get-go, we want to add that human relationship element to it and get away from all the cliche names. No offense to those guys out there, but that was our direction and what we decided to do. And it kind of rolls off the tongue. So
it sure does. Yeah. And so Tony, how were you okay with that? Where it was like Tony P's, because, now all of a sudden the pressure's on, the baby's been named and now you got to like show the baby. Right. So,
well, it's kind of funny. There's two sides to this, because in one sense, there is definitely pressure because it is my name on it. I got to make sure that people are having a good time, they're having fun, they're making quality connections. But at the same time, too, I feel bad because, Greg is the engine that makes this work. I mean, if it wasn't for Greg, these events wouldn't even exist because, like I said, for several months, I resisted and pushed back. I didn't want to do them. I was scared. I'll be honest, I was scared. I didn't want to do them and fail or have them not be good and have it tarnish our brand and tarnish us. Greg's like, no, let's just do it, and like I said, it was like months of him pushing and bugging me until I finally caved in and said, fine, let's do it. He's a great sales guy, so he very persistent.
He told you.
Yeah,
he closed you.
but like I said, I'm just telling you the truth that if it wasn't for Greg, this wouldn't even exist. So I feel bad because, I get a lot of attention, a lot of praise and positive feedback from people. And if Greg's next to me, I make sure that, hey, he does like 70, 80% of the work. I mean, he does all the finances, the operations. He deals with, issues that take place, the website, the Facebook, all the BS. Greg takes care of it. He makes it work. He makes it doable. And I focus more on the social media and the buzz and excitement and the hype and putting butts in the seats, And so we do each other's roles, but we kind of pick a couple different lanes that I focus on, he focuses on. So that way, internally, we know what we have to do and who's in charge of what. But then externally, when people come to us, I get people hit me up all the time saying like, hey, we want to sponsor your event. We want to do this, we do that. And I immediately pass them to Greg because that's his department, Right.
Yeah, that's
so good. So I think that's what really makes this work is that we're a good team. We communicate a lot. We make sure that we're filling in the gaps for each other. But at the same time too, when the praise and the kind words come, I make sure that people recognize Greg too, because even though his name isn't on it, he's the driving force that makes it work.
Yeah, and I think that's super important. We, as we talk about social teaming all the time, and you guys, started with a team of two. And what's interesting is I've gotten to know you. There's a lot of other great people that had now helped behind the scenes, and when I come to the events and work with the events, it's like not just the people that you have working with you on these events, but the people feel and act the same way as you guys. Because, both of you, whenever I've come up to you, it's like, even if there's like 200 people standing behind you and it's rush hour, we all know, we all do events, so we understand how that works. You're like, hey, who do you want to meet? It's like right at the door, right at the moment. Wherever you want to know, you just feel like you've got the VIP pass. You have that humanizing effect. And I think that's so important. To me, it feels, no offense to people across the country here, but it like feels so Chicago to me. Like it feels like you're walking into a big hug. And a lot of times networking events are scary. I know, that doesn't seem like that to us that have been doing it, but most people are scared at networking events. They don't know what to do, who to talk to. Sometimes they just hide or they cling on, as I say, to one person or two people that they know. And you guys make it feel like it's not, whether it's 200, 300 people, it's not overwhelming.
Yeah. And I'll just jump in because that's absolutely, that's by design, and that's from experience. And thank you for saying that, because we really, really focus on making sure that everybody feels welcome, and that there's a lot of things anybody can do in a given night in Chicago. And, we're very humbled that people, choose to share that time with us, and we want to make sure that they're having a good experience. So a couple of things that we do to help make that happen. One, it does help having two of us, because one of the things that I realized right out of the gate is that registration is extremely important for the events. When people come in, they're going to get a smile, they're going to get a handshake from me. Whereas, some other events you might go to and the person who's actually hosting and putting it on is nowhere to be found. Right. So we like to put that, from the moment you walk in, we like to set that tone. And then obviously, Tony's in his place and he's working the crowd and doing his thing and making sure that he's being proactive and introducing people to other people that could benefit from, knowing each other. Another thing that we've done is we've created a brand ambassador program. And these are individuals that are a part of our, an extension of our team. And they are there at the event for the purpose of kind of looking around the room and seeing those people that aren't engaging, or maybe just need to get that one conversation started to help them get into the mode of networking. So, there's people there keeping an eye out, to help facilitate and make all that happen. The other thing I'll say about networking events is absolutely, if you go to an event and you don't know anybody, it can be intimidating. And you go and, you may not feel like networking right away. You may say, I'm uncomfortable here. What I always advise to those people is like, hey, you'll go to a bar with a friend and go sit at the bar and go have a couple of drinks, not think anything of it. Just do the same thing at the networking event. If it's not hitting you right away, just go belly up to the bar, have a couple of drinks, do what you would do anyways. And before you know it, you'll either have that courage, or just know that everybody at that event is there for the same reason, right? They all want to meet you just as bad as you feel like you want to meet them. So don't be surprised by the time you're halfway done with that first cocktail, Sprite, whatever it is, someone's tapping you on the shoulder because they're interested in meeting you, just as, vice versa. So yeah, those are just a couple of things that we do. And yeah.
Yeah. And if it's okay, guys, I'm going to jump in and put some metrics to this too, so I've been attending networking events, conferences, trade shows, et cetera, for over 20 years. And I've lived in Chicago my whole life. So I've made a lot of friends and relationships over that 20-year plus period. And when we do these monthly events, between 250 to 350 people walk through the doors, and I will personally know about 60 to 70% of those people. I have a history with a huge chunk of the crowd already. But then there's a 30 to 40% flow of traffic of people I've never met before. So what I do is, for the first couple of hours of the event, I put a lot of time and energy into getting to meet as many people as possible I've never met before, and I learn their stories. I want to know, what brought you to the event? What kind of work do you do? How long have you been living in Chicago? Where'd you go to college? What's your favorite sport? I'll ask people a whole bunch of questions and learn basic nuggets about what makes them tick. And then I'll find other people in the room that have some sort of common thread. So case in point, if someone shows up and they say, hey, I just moved here from Houston 2 weeks ago, I don't know anybody in Chicago. One of the first things they'll do is they're like, hey, I actually got two friends here that are from Houston that moved to Chicago recently too. You should meet them, Or someone says, hey, I I started working at Motorola, or I went to the University of South Carolina, whatever. Anytime someone says anything, I immediately think, okay, of all the people in this room, who fits those demographics and who would be good to introduce them to? And that's part of what we do with the brand ambassador program too, is they're an extension of me and Greg. So we got, 5 to 6 women, 5 to 6 guys that they actually have special name badges that even say ambassador on them. And they're not paid. They're friends of ours, but we let them in for free. We throw them a couple extra drink tickets, and they do it because they love us and they care about us and they want to help, make the events better for everyone, So at the end of the day, that's kind of what our unique value prop is that there's tons of events out there. There's, any given night, there's so much. And our thing is, want people to feel welcome, to have a good time, to make new friends. And the other thing too is I always stress to everyone is just have fun first. Obviously we're all there for business. A lot of us are in sales in some capacity. I always tell people, don't go for the kill, don't go for the sale or the close or whatever. Just talk and get to know people, ask other questions, learn other people's stories, correlate it to your story, other people's stories. And if there's a business match, awesome. If there isn't, there's a good chance that that person has a brother, a cousin, a neighbor, a coworker, a fraternity brother. They have somebody in their life that could be a great connection for you. But if you get too pushy and salesy with someone, you're going to scare them off. But if you just make friends and get to know each other, then they're going to want to introduce you to people in their sphere as well. So kind of went off on a tangent there, but it kind of just was taking what Greg said and just adding a little more, to it.
Yeah, and I think that's what attracted me to you guys. It's I travel a lot, and there's some events I can't make, but even I try to promote it and talk about you guys as much as possible because it's so synergistic to what we talk about in terms of humanizing the brand. And Greg, I think you mentioned this, and then just the fact that you treat people like people and not like a ticket and not like, somebody that's, just another person coming through the door and sort of that what I call the cattle shuffle, which a lot of events feel like they're just like, okay, you're in the door and people are like lost. They don't know what to do. And you're very oriented. Like, you have somebody there coat checking, and I said, it sounds like a basic fundamental, but I can't believe the number of networking events that I go to that nobody thinks about that. It's like, people have coats. Let's get them checked. And I love the ambassador thing. So I've watched that in action, and it's brilliant. I just think everyone should do that. And for the pure fact that you don't want people to feel alone and then have a bad experience and leave, because I believe, and I'm going to ask this number, do you have a sense for how many people are there because of somebody that told them about it or brought them? It has to be a huge number, right?
I don't know if there's an exact way to measure that, but I'll say that because we're very, ambitious on social media, and because a lot of this is word of mouth. I mean, there's no way to really get an exact number on that, but there is a very large number of brand new people that come each month that they say, hey, a friend of mine told me about this, or hey, I saw something on Facebook, or I saw your video from 2 events ago. It looked really fun. It's like, so we try to hit it at all different angles. We use Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, meetup.com, YouTube, Vimeo. And then also, a lot of it's word of mouth. And then also on our social media, we have a photographer and a videographer at like every event. So we want to make sure that people can see pictures, people can see videos, and like, wow, it looks like fun. And also, I know this is kind of a cheesy term, but I'm all about FOMO, the fear of missing out. I always want to make sure that, in a jerky sort of way, I like to kind of, let people know, like, hey, here's what you missed,
Right, exactly.
but guess what? Next
go to the next one.
There's another one next month, and a month later is another one, So if someone's on vacation, traveling for work, they have a sick child, they have some reason they can't make it, we're not going to, jump on someone and say, hey, you know what? No worries, it's all good. Life happens. But guess what? Our next one is March 19th, then April 17th, then May 15th, then June 12th. So check your calendar, put it in there and see if you can make it to one of these, you know?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to move into tactics, and then we'll see if we can take some of we got a bunch of questions coming in
Sure.
from the audience. So in terms of, we've all gone through the components of filling events. Greg, you and I have worked closely together, and there's different techniques and magic. And, we do a ton of digital streaming and know that game in terms of simulcasts and webcasts. And can you maybe take us through some of the things that that work, some of the things that that don't work, and what you guys have discovered that besides social media that really contribute, to the techniques that you use?
Yeah, I'll name a couple. I mean, right off the bat, one of the things I do is, again, all in the spirit of trying to humanize the process as early as possible and at least put one face to a name. I watch ticket sales, and as soon as I see somebody buy a ticket, the first thing I do, I grab their name, I throw it into LinkedIn, I connect with that individual, and I let them know that I'm looking forward to meeting them at the event.
Nice.
Right out of the gate. I started doing that like 6 months ago. And, it's amazing. They'll come to the door. They'll be like, hey, thank you so much. I wasn't sure about this event, but, you reached out to me, and now I'm seeing your post and these type of things because we're connected. I've been really looking forward to this. Another thing that I think we do really well and that we've done from the get-go is having a videographer and a photographer at each event. Because once the event is over, we usually post, 50 to 75 pictures. We'll get like 1,000 and then we'll go through them because we want to make sure everybody looks good, right. Type of thing. So we don't just do a mass post of all the pictures. But whenever we put those on to Facebook, we'll go through and we'll tag all the individuals, and they'll start engaging, and they'll go in, they'll look at all the pictures, and they'll recognize people, and they'll hover over and they'll say, oh, that's who that was. And it helps them reconnect with people that they had a conversation with, outside of the event, because that's what this is all about, is people building business partners and building relationships. So the more information that we can put out there to help people connect, the stronger, the networking event's going to become. So those are just a couple of quick tactics right off the cuff there. So,
and I would say what I noticed with you guys, which is huge, is consistency. So Tony, to your point, I know that your messages at least feel like they're scheduled on the money, so that when I get them, it just feels like, oh, this is the same time I'm always getting them. And I know to look through them and see what's coming up. And,
Yep.
I've always got people asking me, in our business, where should we go? Who should we connect to? So I love that it's consistent. I think that's huge.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. And that's what we do is we send out the newsletter every Monday or Tuesday, and it's a rolling 2-week period. So it's the week that we're in right now, and then the following week, and then it just goes on. Because I experimented with putting events out for the month, but that's just too much, and plus life happens and things change. So a lot of times people don't really plan too much, 4, 5, 6 weeks ahead. But when it's 1 to 2 weeks ahead, that's when people are more thinking about their schedules and what's going on and what they should check out. And how that ties into all this of filling seats and getting people to show up is that because I've attended many other people's events for 20 years, I've helped promote them pretty intensely for the last few years, and Greg's been a big part of that too, is we have a lot of loyalty. So we have friends that they do events too, sometimes once a month, once a quarter, 2 a month. So what we do is we all, number one, we coordinate schedule to make sure we try as hard as we can not to schedule.
I know, I do. I look at the calendar and I go, when's Tony P's event?
Yeah.
Can't do it on that night. So,
but it does happen every once in a while. We have friends that we have events on the same night, and it happens once in a while. We do our best to avoid that. But the thing is, so we have a core group of people that do events that we talk to pretty consistently a couple times a week to make sure we're on the same page of who's doing which events when. But then the other thing we do is we share and promote each other's events. So one thing we'll do is we'll have people, we'll post them on Facebook, and we'll have a bunch of people like it and comment on it. We'll do it on LinkedIn. We'll do it on Instagram. And then, so if I got an event coming up in a couple of weeks, I'll reach out to a bunch of loyal people and say, hey, can you put this on your Facebook wall? Can you put this on LinkedIn? And they're like, sure, no problem. And then same thing. I got people that hit me up all the time and say, hey, I got an event coming in 2 weeks. Can you help can you put it on your newsletter? Can you put it on Facebook? You help promote it. So it's, instead of being competitors with each other, we help each other out, and that helps fill up their events, helps fill up our events. And it's just, this makes the world so much easier that we're cooperating and collaborating and help each other out, as opposed to competing against each other and trying to sabotage each other,
Yeah. Right.
And so that helps out a ton. The other thing too is that, we try to keep things fresh, where each month we'll try either like a new venue or a venue that we haven't been to in a while. So try and keep at least a 6-month buffer between an event at this venue and doing it at the same venue again to keep it fresh. But especially if it's a new venue like Clutch Bar, which we actually had our event 2 nights before their actual official grand opening, which is pretty cool. Obviously people want to come to network, but also if we have a really cool, hip new venue, then we use that as a vehicle to sell tickets. We're like, hey, check out this new place before the general public does, and that gets people excited. Or if it's somewhere that people don't normally go to, like Electric Hotel it's a dance club. It's kind of like being in Vegas or something. I'd say a good 60% of our audience probably wouldn't normally go there on a Friday or Saturday night. Right. But to go there on a Tuesday or Wednesday night to network, they'll come check it out. And then some people might be like, okay, cool. I'll get some of my friends to go on a Friday night, So we're always trying to find creative ways to utilize these different venues that are unique and different and keep them fresh, So by having done these for the last year and a half, we're getting to know a lot of bar, restaurant, club owners, managers, groups that own a lot of places. So that makes the negotiation for the venue and the sponsorships so much easier because the relationships are in place. They know us. Right. They know we can pull a crowd, and they're going to give us what we want if we use their venue.
Yeah, and it's collective, right? So that's part of our social teaming methodology, which is funny. I developed it out of the Chicago sports teams, and I don't even want to talk about those right now. But the idea is that if we work together, things are going to be easier. Right?
Oh yeah.
And you guys have always been gracious, and you're like, hey, on this event coming up, let us know. We'll put it out there. And we've been good on our social media with you and doing that. And it's not even a formal thing. It's just more of a, like you said, collaborative. We appreciate that you guys have events that feel like how we treat our clients and how we treat our events, where we really work hard to take care of people and make them feel like they belong.
Exactly.
And I think that's a huge piece that I want to make sure people hear again. So I'm going to take a couple questions from the audience here.
Sure.
Somebody's asking, have you ever thought about, have you ever had the conversation about going outside of Chicago, like into the suburbs or, some other areas with your events?
Hey, Greg, can I tackle this one?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, so the quick and dirty answer on that is yes, we have considered it, and there's pros and cons. I mean, in one sense, if we did an event in Oak Brook, Naperville, Schaumburg, Rosemont, like I said, if you think like North Shore, like Northbrook, Glenview, you think Northwest to be like Rosemont, Schaumburg. You think western suburbs would be like Oak Brook, Naperville, and southwest suburbs would be like Tinley Park, Orland Park. So we do have people that come to our events in the city that live and work in those areas, and it's tough because in one sense we do want to cater to other audiences, but at the same time it's a risk because if we do something in River North of the Loop, we know like clockwork we're going to get 250, 350 people depending on the size of venue like every month, without fail. If we branch out to the suburbs, it's a risk. And I don't know. It's like it would stink if we did an event in Schaumburg and like 20 people showed up. It's like, it'd be a lot of time and energy. Plus,
And now your brand is affected by that.
Yeah, and selfishly, I live and work in the city. I mean, Greg's a trooper because he lives, out past Aurora, and he makes it work. And we have a lot of people that come from the suburbs. They take Metro. They take the L. They do whatever they can. That's why we do River North of the Loop. So that way, if someone wants to get in and out of the city, it's easy access.
Yeah, I think that's important. We struggle with that too, because we do workshops and sometimes it's $400 a ticket and $1,000 a ticket.
Yeah.
And so I had to make executive decisions that we're going to go into metro areas, even like when we go to LA and other places. And we try to get as close to the transportation. So I wanted people to hear you say that transportation consideration was first. And, now we're in the Civic Opera House, which is right by all the trains.
Exactly.
And parking garages. So you have no excuse. And we even do parking passes or discount passes.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I mean, we live in a very, busy city with lots of traffic, lots of congestion, especially certain times of day and night for traveling. So we want to make sure that people have multiple methods to get to our events and then get home afterwards. And yeah, so to kind of answer the original question, yeah, we've kicked around the idea of doing suburban events. I don't think we're going to do it anytime soon. It just, I don't know. I feel the risk is too high and there's too much hassle, and I just don't see us pulling 300 people in Schaumburg or Naperville or Northbrook. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and you would have to build up to that. I mean, with any good program.
Yeah. I mean, we have a nice base in the city that's consistent of 60 to 70%, loyal people, then 30 to 40% brand new, fresh faces each month. And I don't know, to do something somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know if I want to take that risk right now. Greg, do you agree?
Yeah, I would just say that probably the biggest piece of this is Tony P's networking events it's fun for us right now. We're passionate about it. We love doing it. And if it becomes a point where, okay, we got to go out to this event and we're not putting our heart into it, it's, people at the event are going to know it. And we just don't want to stretch ourselves too thin and give a bad experience and also feel like it's work for us. Right.
Right.
Yeah, so that would be my thoughts around it. The other common question we get as well, which is probably a little bit more likely to happen in the near future, are breaking out the events by industry. We get that question a lot too. Like, hey, can we do something that's specifically for the digital marketing people or the real estate people or things like that? Which that's going to be next on our move for Tony P's events, because we'll probably keep those in the city, and we definitely see why that's important.
Yeah, BNC did that about a decade ago, and they had some good success with that. Creating some of those investment groups, real estate groups, and sort of, and you have to serve the groups that make sense for you guys.
Right. Yeah. And something else too, I know we got a few minutes left here, and I'm sure there's more questions than we have time for, but I would definitely love to make sure that when the time is up here, that if any questions don't get answered on this session, that we still have a chance to reach out, or these people can reach out to me and Greg directly. We're more than happy to answer all those questions.
Yeah. A question, well, actually the sponsorship question. So here's what we're going to do. We have the Business Influence Alliance Facebook group. We're going to post some questions in there, guys, and then we'll tag you on those. And then when we get to them, we'll make sure, and then we'll make sure that on the show notes, everybody gets, the link to jump back in there. A couple of things that are important to us to hear about is who out there inspires you guys, like who are mentors for you, or who are people that have sort of helped you get to this moment, either from business or with Tony P's networking events?
Well, there's one person that immediately comes to mind. I'm sure several people on this podcast have come across John Iano from Insider's Edge.
Yep.
So he's been a buddy of mine for several years. Ironically, actually met him at a networking event like 6-7 years ago and became instant friends. We're both kind of similar, a couple of goofy, loud Italian guys. And but the thing is that he'd been doing his events for years, and I attended a lot of them, and I helped promote them for years. Me and Greg still help promote his events. He helps promote our events. But by going to his events and a few other people's, we were able to kind of cherry pick, what works and what doesn't work.
Nice.
A lot of these events and audiences. So that's what we started doing ours. We had a very clear vision of how we wanted to do it. But John's been phenomenal. He's been a huge asset as a friend and as a business partner and a sounding board. I can probably think of like 10 other people, but he's the one that immediately, comes to mind. Greg, who would you say outside of John, who else do you think would be a good influence on us or has been?
Yeah, well, I was gonna take it a little bit of a deeper of approach, and an influencer of mine would be like Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book has kind of guided my life and decisions, and the whole idea, in it is pay it forward and givers gain, type of mentality. And for me, that's how I approach everything. And even if you look at our newsletter, the whole idea behind it is to give information, fast. And you'll notice that we've never put advertisements on it. We've never sold advertising space on it, and it's open for anybody that's having events. So that's our way of giving information out there. The next piece of that is making that information readily available, right? So we actually started a text marketing program, so anybody can just text 30500. They can type in events, and they can see the next 2 weeks events coming up in Chicago.
Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, our text marketing is 30500. So if you text events with the capital E to that number, you'll get back the upcoming 2 weeks of events.
That's cool.
In a link. So
we'll put that in the show notes for you too.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's been one of my guiding influences. Obviously Tony's been an influence of mine. I know it's kind of like cheating, but I really, I learned from him, the whole world of networking, so I kind of follow his lead on that and just kind of serve as his right-hand man whenever it comes to numbers and things he doesn't want to do.
And I want to just tell you how much I appreciate you guys. Greg, we spent a lot of time together. You're always willing to do whatever it takes, to partner. And Tony, you've always been an open book on like, who do you want to meet? Just, I feel like I don't use it enough, and so I just want to tell you how much we appreciate you as being part of the Social Jack family here. And it's really cool. In fact, I'm just looking to the side. I had you guys at 2 related meetings yesterday talking about you, and I'm like, have you heard about those guys? And I'm like, and they're like, yeah. And I go, well, I can introduce you. Okay, yeah, no, so it was like, it's like that Chicago thing about, I don't want to, sound off here, but it's like, I got a guy,
Oh yeah, everybody's got a guy,
Yeah. And
just with us, we just got a lot of guys and gals for every category, It's just a matter of just connecting the dots where it makes sense,
Right. Well, we're gonna wrap up the show, and we always announce our winners for the day. So let's bring Kate and Jackson back on, and then in the audience, can you guys type in one takeaway from today's program that you can, for your next event or somebody that you can pass along to the next event that can maybe help them of something that you learned from Tony P and Greg today. So Kate, what did you learn out of this?
Well, I just want to comment how I thought it was so funny that Greg said at the events, he works the table and welcomes everyone, and Tony goes and makes the connection. Because if that is not you and me at our events,
Right.
what is? I was laughing so hard. But I think the biggest takeaway for me, which is something we deal with a lot, is the whole competition versus collaboration. Like they are the first people to be able to send out other people's events, because it's not competition. It's just helping people network more. It's what you can give for them. And we do that a lot. And a lot of times people will ask us to blast out events. And I'm always, at first the question is like, is it competition? And then it's just like, it's not. It's helping each other. Maybe to meet somebody there that they really need to meet, that they're meant to meet. So I loved that. I think if we all helped each other out more with referrals and collaboration, the world would be a better place.
Can I add one quick thought on that piece? So we get asked that a lot, like, oh, are you guys competing with this event or that event? And we're like, no, we collaborate. We believe in playing nice in the sandbox. And we've said from day one, our competition is the couch. On people getting out and meeting people versus sitting on the couch and watching TV, because there's millions of people, right? So I mean, there's enough to fill up any event anywhere. The only thing holding those people back is sitting on the couch.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Jackson's celebrating his 10-year anniversary with us at his early age. He started working events with us when he was 10 years old. So Jackson, you've worked a ton of events in our lifetime. What'd you get out of this today?
I got out of it basically what Kate had said. Where Kate and I are running around doing a lot of setup for the events, and you are you're meeting and greeting people, and making sure they're getting down the hall. You're standing there. And, I think that's an essential part is, the breaking down the tasks of an event so it runs smoother, and I love the fact that you guys aren't like, oh, we do it alone. It's ours. You know what I mean? You guys are like, it's all to the network, it's the network of people that you've put the time in to build, and you utilize that with every event you throw, and you prove that's a successful system. I mean, I've been to your events. They're amazing. They're an awesome time. Especially, Concrete Cowboy was very fun. That was a really cool
Everybody
one.
has their favorite venue, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was a really cool one. I like that venue. So yeah, but that's, I think the biggest thing that I took away is, it's we're not doing this alone. We're all in this together. It's networking. It's networking 101. So, why act like you are? It's
amazing how many people don't practice that.
Yeah. Well, it's all about just people just kicking their egos to the side and just working together, just having fun, because then when you're having fun and people are smiling, laughing, having a good time, then everything else opens up. It's that easy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Particularly, I think that's a great theme because, like you said, there are a lot of salespeople at your event. So if they don't all come for the kill shot to hand their card, right? And you can actually have conversations and build a community and learn how you can help each other. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Jackson, real quick, as bottom line as you can, who's our winners for today?
So our winners for today on Zoom, for the first person in, that was Shaylee. So congratulations. Nice. I'll reach out to you and find out where the best place is to send that. And also Jimmy Z for the engagement question. So that was awesome, Jimmy. It's like you've been around forever. And
he's one of the godfathers of events out there too. So.
And then on Facebook we had Teresa Clark. So congratulations to our winners. I'll reach out to you guys. Find out best place to send your Starbucks gift cards.
Right on. And remember the lesson, folks. So then when you take someone for that cup of coffee, and this goes for all of you, make sure that you share what you learned from Tony P and Greg today, and make sure you have the opportunity, if you're from out of town, when you're in town, to get to a Tony P event, and make sure that you look up Tony P's events on Facebook and just join that group and learn and connect. That's
And Dean, one last quick shameless plug.
Go for it, man.
Our next event is Tuesday, March 19th at Cuvée. So if anyone's got questions, we can, it's on our Facebook page, on our Facebook group. We got an Eventbrite link. but it's Tuesday, March 19th, 6 to 9, Cuvée. It's a club. It's right next to Clutch Bar, actually. So it's like a quarter of Erie and Franklin, right around the corner from Concrete Cowboy. We're expecting between 350 to 400 people there. It's going to be awesome. And it's the night before spring. So we're kind of like a spring equinox party, too. We're putting a little theme on it. So.
Ooh, and isn't it after St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
So then our livers should be dry by then.
Yeah, that's by design because St. Patrick's Day, it becomes St. Patrick's Week. And there's a lot of St. Patrick's Day parties going on next week. We didn't want to compete with that. So we kicked it to a week later just to
smart.
And plus we wanted to make sure we did it not the same night as the LinkedIn local event on March 20th at the Metropolitan Club. So we want to make sure that kind of give people a double header of two awesome events back to back.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for participating in today's show. And Tony and Greg, thank you for being part of the Social Jack family again. And everybody, make sure you go to those links. And then Jackson's going to send out a note to everybody. Kate will cover social and make sure that all those links are known. And then we'll watch for those questions in the group. And with that being said, we'll see you all at the next Tony P event. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having us. This is awesome.
Thanks for having us, guys.
See you online. Take care.
Bye.
I know.
Thank you for listening to the Influence Factory podcast. We welcome feedback and suggestions. You can provide these by visiting our website at www.myinfluencefactory.com. And if you are interested in Social Jack's 90 Days to Influence program, you can simply go to 90daystobusinessinfluence.com and simply ask for the next steps. While our program airs regularly on Zoom webcasts and Facebook Live on Wednesdays at noon Central, we invite you to download episodes on your favorite channel: YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spreaker, SoundCloud, and who knows where else in the future. We will also provide occasional on-location live streams with special guests that we will announce in our community Facebook group, Business Influencer Alliance, as well as on all Social Jack channels. Our mission is to help you build your digital business influence with this podcast, as well as inspire, educate, and entertain those who are hungry to collaborate in a cool place with cool business professionals just like you.